Hello, I'm Tim Lewis, and thank you for watching this video. Please hit the like button, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe for more content. If you know someone who might like this video, recommend it to them and encourage them to subscribe as well. Thank you and enjoy the video. Today's video we will take a look at the MTH Railking Aerotrain. So there will be no running on the actual test layout. I have footage from previous runs that I will use in the video, so this portion will be the review. I will do some samples of a couple sounds, and then I will take it over to the videos that were previously shot so you guys can see all the other cool features it has, such as the PFA and how it looks in operation. So I'm going to give you guys a abbreviated history on the Aerotrain. The Aerotrain came around during the mid-1950s, created by General Motors, and it was a way to try to attract more people to come back to riding the rails. And it sort of worked, and it did not work at the same time. And as you guys can tell, these riding cars are actually bus bodies that were cut up, and instead of trying to put an actual truck under there, they put an axle where the wheels would go, and hoping it would create a comfortable ride, it did the exact opposite. Now, there are a lot of features that GM put into this actual Aerotrain to make it look like an automobile, and I will show you guys that in a second. There were several railroads that had the Aerotrain. The first one was the Pennsylvania Railroad. It then went to the New York Central Railroad. There was a Rock Island Railroad, and then there was a Union Pacific Railroad Aerotrain. Now, there was only two Aerotrains, so when one railroad was done with one train, it went on to the next railroad. And this train right here is the Union Pacific model. The city of Las Vegas was the train, and this came from the New York Central. And then when Union Pacific was done, it went to the Rock Island in Chicago. Now, originally, this Aerotrain, the city of Las Vegas, went to Santa Fe as a experiment test train. They were trying to see if it could do the San Diegan, which was from Los Angeles to San Diego and San Diego back to Los Angeles. However, due to the Sorrento Valley grade, this locomotive and the train had issues. Now, it's a 9-car consist, and this locomotive could not get that 9-car consist up the hill. And the other issue was turning the train around. Now, in the old days, you would have to back the train all the way up to Miramar, which is almost a 30-minute trip from Santa Fe Depot in San Diego to flip the train around, or go down to National City and flip the train down there. However, because of this issue, they were thinking about getting another diesel, but there was some other issues at the time that could not create the extra support and power to get the train up the hill still. So what we're looking at is the 2015 model. The latest model will be coming out soon, if not now, and they have done all 4 railroads, and they have done the Santa Fe Aerotrain for the first time ever. This one has a couple interesting things. There are 3 add-on cars, and what I mean by that is that when you buy the train, you get 3 cars. You get the engine, you get 2 regular cars, and then you get a tail-end observation car. And then you can buy the cars individually separate. Now, I bought 2 cars together, and what had happened was someone actually bought another Aerotrain, and then they sold the engine and the car off because they were modeling the Rock Island train. And then he decided he was going to sell his Aerotrain, so there were Union Pacific cars, and I decided to pick them up. So I have cars from a different train set, including an add-on car that they sold separate. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. This train has no seated people in them, so when you add seated people, it's pretty easy. And I may do a video later on if I have seated people moved or they come apart from being glued down. And it's pretty simple. There's 6 screws under there that all you gotta do is pop out. And the cool thing is, since this is a metal chassis, the car weighs a little bit heavier, but the seats come separate. And what I mean is, the seats are not stuck to the bottom of the car like most cars are, and the whole shell comes off like a locomotive. Now, before we get into the review portion of this video, I need to let you guys know about some stuff that this locomotive has inside. This locomotive is equipped with DCS and DCC, so there is a switch under there that all you gotta do is flip it so it can run one way. There is no smoke unit. A lot of people have put smoke units in theirs, but this one does not have a smoke unit. And most importantly, you can run this in various different ways. DCC, DCS with the remote, DCS with the app, or a transformer operation mode. Another thing that should be noted is when you get this Aerotrain, it is not meant to haul more than 6 cars. And what I mean by that is when you get this, it can haul the 3 cars that it came with perfectly fine. But once you get to more cars, you're going to have issues. And how to solve this issue is by weighing the locomotive down. What I do is I take tape weights, I add an ounce, and I just stack them up in each section. And what I do is there's some in the front, so there's some under the nose, and there's some right along the rear motor. So yes, the rear truck is powered, and there was some issues that I figured out that the weight needed to be added, and there is weight around there, and it's a smaller motor, so we may be able to see the motor later in the video. Another thing to keep in mind is when you take this thing apart, there are 6 screws. 2 of them are different size, so just make sure that you have them kind of laid out. And what I usually like to do is when I take something apart, I put the screws like this, and like this. So I know where the screws go, and if there's a situation where I can't put it back together, the person who has to put it back together knows how and where the screws go. So we're going to start off with reviewing the locomotive. And the first thing you'll notice is that the Union Pacific logo is on front of the engine. There's also headlights up here. Now on the real one, they had a bunch of lights that would work in different various ways, including a red flashing light, but this one just has 2 headlights that are just straight headlights. You got the numbers on the sides, in the front. You have the Aerotrain right here, and then the City of Las Vegas along here. And finally, the skirting. The skirting does come off, 2 screws on each side, and in order for you to take it off, you will have to take the shell off. Continuing on the top, we have a little molded in antenna. We have the horn, which is molded in. We have a fan. We have some more radiators up here, and we got little hooks to pull out for the body when it was in operation like the real one. And of course we got 2 little stacks that are basically molded in, and nothing special about that. So a couple things you should know about this train is when you get it, there are different size vestibules. And what I mean is the vestibules are these rubber pieces. So they have a shorter one and they have a longer one. So what I usually like to do is I like to put the longer one on the rear of the train. So when I come like this, it looks more closed off. Now you can't put 3 and 3 the big ones together because the spacing, and a lot of trains, whether you have a vestibule on them or not, have to have different size vestibules to navigate certain curves, so you cannot have the vestibule touching another vestibule. Continuing along, we can see more of why this looks like a bus, with the windows that are slanted, diagonal facing forward, and you have another window that was added on. This section was added on, I believe, to the car, and you got the little axle sets right here with the motor. And on each side there is a door that's separately applied after the bus body was cut off. Now, as I mentioned before, there are seated people in here, so you can kind of see them in here. And all the cars have seated people. And you'll see something interesting that you probably won't be able to see on another train once we get to the back of the train. Here is the observation car of the train, and this is where all the business is. As you guys can tell, there is a Union Pacific logo right here, and there are 2 red lights down here, and you got a very good observation deck. I brought the camera closer so you guys can see the back, and there's actually seated people back here. And this car was a little bit fun to take apart because this portion back here where they seat, I have to take that out separately from the car. so it is fun, and it's also fun trying to put it back in and make sure it's in the right place. So yes, there are seated people in there, and it was pretty simple to put the people in, but the hard part, like I said, was putting the section back in. So here is the car lidded up. You can see the red lights right here. So now we're looking at the back of the locomotive, and you guys can see the motor, which is kind of right in here. It's a little bit smaller motor. It's more of a trolley car motor, like a PCC car. And this little motor does really well with the bigger motor on the front. Before we get to demoing the sounds, I will give you guys my final thoughts, and we'll start off with favorite features. My favorite feature has to be how this train looks. Everything about this basically is a grabber, an attention grabber for anyone, and is a very attractive train, and it's a good conversation starter. A lot of people I know have multiple versions of this train, and what I mean by that is they have bought two trains. They took one, converted one to a TMCC system, and they have the other MTH model, and they were able to modify the rear motor so it is a bigger motor in a confined space. I have no least favorite features for this model. However, I would like to let you guys know that putting people in these cars are pretty simple, with the exception of the tail end car. So if you get this, I highly recommend putting seated people, and at the same time looking into putting LED lights, because you can put LED lights in these cars a lot easier and quicker when you have these cars apart. So now I will give you guys the startup sounds, and since this is off a transformer, it's going to take a couple seconds before the sound starts up. So now the lights are on, and the BCR is waiting to determine which mode the engine is going to go in. And here we go. Here's the horn. And the bell.
Now depart the train. We'll be leaving shortly. You can put your luggage in the rack.
New Aerotrain. Come ride with us.
All aboard. Load that up. Let's go. Last try.
guys, this wraps up this review. Now, this model has been out for quite some time, so there are Loco Sounds, Proto Sound 1, Proto Sound 2, and Proto Sound 3 models of this locomotive. And the Proto Sound 2 locomotive sounds great, so if you can get the Proto Sound 2 locomotive, get it. You will love it. The sounds are pretty much the same on all of them with the exception of the Loco Sounds and the Proto Sound 1 model. Now, if you're looking for a place to find them, since the new one should be out by now, you can probably find one anywhere, and the usual going price is around $329.99. However, you could probably get it through a better dealer at a better price. I've seen them go for $3.99 with free shipping, and I've seen other deals where you're buying not only the set, but you're getting a add-on car with it. Anyways, that wraps up this review, and I'll see you guys next time. Once again, thank you for watching this video. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe for more content. If you know someone who might like this video, recommend it to them and encourage them to subscribe. If you would like to see more photos and videos, I have an Instagram account. The username is sdiv_tim, and the link is in the bio. If you're an O-Gauge modeler looking for more exposure, American O-Gauge is a feature page on Instagram where O-Gauge modelers around the country have their trains on display. This also includes their layouts and tips. With over 1,000 followers and over 75 different contributors, we get a new contributor daily, and we hope you can contribute to our page.